welcome back to the Franchise Marketer podcast. I'm pretty pumped with my guest today, which is David. So David's actually come out and before at Jim's group, which I was very appreciative of. But I thought I want to talk a bit more about automations in trades business and also in recruitment, because this is something a lot of franchisors, a lot of franchisees who listen to this, in terms of automation, everyone's interested in it. And I thought with what you put out online and what you're doing for tradies at the moment, you've got a really good understanding of it and a high level of understanding of what can be done. And I think getting you on to show some of these automations will be really, really handy for people, not only from a franchise recruitment perspective, but from a lead gen perspective as well, and what's possible. So David, do you want to give a bit of an introduction about yourself first before we get straight into it?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me on, Joel, as well, by the way.
No worries.
So I am actually an ex-tradie, a Sparky. I was been in the water industry for about 13 years. Started doing, when I was in that role, I actually did a bit of coding, industrial coding, with people are familiar with PLCs and, automation, robotics and stuff. And I actually got into the digital marketing or marketing space when I was there doing videos. My organization was quite large. They found out that I had a YouTube channel and decided to recruit me to do some of their marketing. I really enjoyed it. And that's when I jumped out and did my own thing, doing some digital marketing. And inevitably inside of the digital marketing space, you do tend to find out and do your own little automations, either for yourself or for other businesses. Six months, I'd been pushing and it's kind of exploded for me. So that's really now all I'm do. I'm knocking back people for all marketing and just doing automation now. So yeah.
Yeah, your shift's been amazing because you started off doing a lot of content, which you had a great content on your channel, which, with as a Sparky and doing that sort of stuff. And you've just gone ham with all the automations that you're doing for people with different software. And I want to talk about this because this is a big area for franchisors, franchisees, and the future people who work at head office, not knowing what CRMs to use. They get approached with all these franchise-specific CRMs all the day. And then you've got the franchisee level with a whole bunch of different stuff too. There's a heap of different stuff. So do you want to just talk about the software that you use and some of the systems that you implement for people?
Yeah. So the main softwares, I do like to have like a main stack of software that I use. And particularly because I work with tradespeople, there's like some core like job management softwares they use. So ServiceMate, this big one, AroFlo and SimPRO. And typically what I do as a core is to make sure that those platforms have good API support so I can interact with other CRMs. So we're kind of agnostic when it comes to platforms. If someone comes to us and says we need to integrate with Zoho or CRM or something like that into ServiceMate or SimPRO, we can do it. But if we're offering something like a CRM, we just go to GoHighLevel. It's just so flexible. They got an amazing API as well. So we can connect in the back and basically do anything, customize anything. It's been pretty amazing what we've been able to create for some people.
Yeah, so you do. So GoHighLevel for people, if you do a Google search, people will find that. That is a massive tool. And I've actually heard an interview with the founder on a few things, and it's quite impressive what they do on the products. So you don't outline why you like GoHighLevel and what's actually possible in a business with it.
GoHighLevel is basically a CRM that encapsulates all different features from a lot of different softwares. So you might have something like a MailChimp, where this has got mail delivery inside of it. You've got SMS marketing inside of it. You've got like pipelines which a lot of other CRMs have. Every other lead. The biggest thing that it really does, and which was its flagship of its day, was that it is able to connect into all different lead source platforms. And so your Facebook, Instagrams, Google's, whatever, and every single lead is in one spot, which is still a huge advantage for anyone, really, in my opinion. But off the back of those things, they have, like I said before, like a very comprehensive API. And if you're familiar with APIs and webhooks, this is how we develop on top of these platforms. It's virtually every single event that might happen inside of that platform. We can go and grab that and then go and develop on top of it. So that's why I like it. It's huge, robust, and it's got lots of development potential as well for people that want to make sure that they want some sort of custom solution outside of what it actually delivers.
Yeah, and it's quite affordable because if you look at getting an SMS provider and like a Mailchimp or something equivalent, plus landing page builder, plus all these different things as well, it can be quite costly, and it's quite cost effective when you actually look at the true cost of what you're paying for subscriptions. And I think the customization is awesome. So, what sort of stuff are you building for tradies, or what in GoHighLevel, and what sort of things are possible?
So, did you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, let's get. I'm going to click share now, and I'm going to make you the host, and we're going to share it. So if you were listening to this, guys, there's a video for it, which you can actually check this out. And I think this will make a lot of sense. So I'll make you the host now, mate, and away we go. Let's share the screen and get into it.
All right. So, what I'm finding with a lot of organizations and businesses, and I did know this to be true before, and particularly franchises, they would know this better than most, is that having actual 100% deliverable processes is how you can scale. So ensuring that these particular automations don't include too much AI. So I don't know if you want to talk about AI in integrating with automations, but these are fairly stuck to their own process and their own path. So this is a really cool automation I did for an electrical inspector. So it's kind of just gone live the other day, actually. So this is me testing some stuff in here. You can see. So if you're familiar with GoHighLevel, this is their pipeline or their opportunities tab. It's kind of like a Kanban board. You can build out as many stages and stuff as you like. So anytime that he has any lead from anywhere, albeit his website, Facebook, wherever, I directly pick up that information and we drop it into as a new lead or a new inquiry. Okay. And then as he goes, this is his particular opportunity board, because he wants to go and make sure that he can physically call that person. So if he calls them and they miss the call, we're going to sit in here, and that's going to send off a little message to remind him. And then once he's ready, it's going to go into this one here, which is create job. Now, creating a job actually physically creates a job in his ServiceMate account. I won't go into his account and show you because it's got sensitive information, but what that'll do is there's all sorts of information inside of the opportunity board here, where I've tailored it to him. So any job details, any notes attached to the client all get sucked up and collected and then get dumped onto the board. So the beauty about this is that you don't need to dilute your ServiceMate or job management software with a whole heap of like leads that just aren't going to turn into jobs. So I've seen several people's job management software with like over 100,000 contacts, and it'd be like only 40% that they've ever had jobs for, because they just keep pushing all these leads into their things. So this really tidies that up. So, and this is a very, very simple example of what you could potentially do. So, like I said, any kind of event that you have, you can push out to this. And I can show you, it seems quite simple to be able to push this and create all that and make sure all this stuff goes in and creates a job. But I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, I've got a couple here. Okay, so
what we're looking at now is N8N, which is an automation software. So, because people will probably see this online and it looks all confusing. So, just run through it a little bit.
Yeah. So, what happens is that with any automation, you have some sort of trigger, an event that happened. For us, that was moving it into the create job board. And if I was to zoom in here, this is something called a webhook. So it's by its name, you could probably gather it kind of hooks into the internet, grabs out that information, and then we kind of sanitize it. It moves through a huge decision tree. There's actually a lot inside of the software where it doesn't do for you. So we need to make sure that we're checking whether the client exists. Does the contact already exist, so we don't make duplicates, things like that. So we're making sure that when it does go in, it's just really, really clean inside of their database. And then we come down to a decision tree at the end, and we say, do we need to create a contact, client, the whole thing, or just the contact, or just create a job? Because that particular person is actually already created.
Yeah.
And then it goes into like this. This is an additional node tree for the particular client. And we grab out some of the notes and stuff, depending on, based on their use case, really. But yeah, that's just one example of what happens in the background when it moves into that stage and then goes through and then all of a sudden, bang, the job appears.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's quite a massive thing. So you're building that in and then that's linking in with HighLevel and
correct.
And that webhook, is that taking the lead request from a website, or where's it taking it from?
So the webhook is actually directly connected to the opportunity stage. So the event is the opportunity stage it moves into.
Yeah.
So all the leads, there is actually a webhook from the website to GoHighLevel.
Yeah.
It collects the leads, and then he filters them out. And then once he's ready to go, he'll push them into here, and this automation will push it into ServiceMate. Yeah.
Now on his side, what is he using to then do? Is it purely ServiceMate he's using on his side, or what else does he use on his side?
Well, so now that we've got him with GoHighLevel, he's using the mobile app. So the mobile app essentially is him looking through. He'll see when he's got a lead, and then he'll push that through the job boards. He'll call them straight away, and then he just pushes it in. He knows that if it's a good lead and they want to create a job, great. He'll push it into the system. If not, he'll leave it in there, or he'll just delete it from the system if he wants to.
Okay, so it's the GoHighLevel app's his CRM, and then you got the ServiceMate, which is his trade management. So he has those two things there, and that's how he manages his business. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's quite impressive. What else are tradies then using for automation, or where do you think they can use automation in their business? Because there's a lot of home service businesses that I deal with. We have a thing called Jim's Jobs internally, which would be Jim's sort of similarly trying to do this sort of stuff. But from your perspective, what other automations are you running for tradies, and what are things that are actually possible?
Yeah, look, a huge one is mail parsing. I didn't think this would be such a big thing, but a lot of people get a lot of job inquiries, or you might be, so facilities maintenance, you might work for a couple of real estate agents and they use a software that pushes out job or work orders to your inbox. What we can do is we can pull and scrape that data, and then we can sanitize it and put it in a way that, for instance, would put a job into your system. So into whatever system you're using. So that's been a huge one for me, actually. And I'm actually trying to build out more of a more generalist type scraper, because I'm starting to see quite a few patterns around what people are wanting. But yeah, that's quite a huge one. Boring, but it's really important, because if it's kind of taking you or your administrator, someone told me, he said he gets about 400 leads a month. This guy, he's a plumber in Sydney.
Yeah.
So he really needs some sort of, he's got a CRM and he works with that. But he said he just can't figure out how to put these jobs correctly in. He's got all these different landing pages and stuff. And so we're working with him to make sure that we can get all those jobs in. But he said it takes his admin 6 minutes to get a job in. I said, well, how many of these, if you take that and times it by however many leads you're getting, how much time is that saved? It's it's enormous.
So would the plan be to build wherever it's obviously he's doing PPC and different things like that. So to build that function, let's say build those landing pages and things within GoHighLevel, and then you would connect it all up with this sort of thing, or how would you do that?
Ideally, I would love to build it all out in GoHighLevel, only because it's integrated directly with it. It's not exclusively needs to be though. The beauty of APIs and webhooks is that we can jump in. If you've got an existing system and you've got a ton of different landing pages, all we need to do is create some sort of webhook that we can jump in and collect that data. But if you were starting from scratch, my recommendation would be, definitely, we'll start building out some landing pages. We can have attribution for all those, so making sure we know exactly where they're coming from, and then we can push them in and either go to.
Because that's what I was sort of saying. If you want to build this system from scratch, that's what I was sort of getting at. Sorry, I should have been clear. You build everything within GoHighLevel, because from the first point of view, you don't need to pay for a separate landing page builder or
100%
like that. You've got it all in there. It's all a lot easier to sort out with as well. So from there, how do how else is, so I presume you get asked a bit about AI stuff and I get approached left, right, and center. And I've been jumping on a lot of calls about AI and see like AI job bookers and stuff like that. And I see a little bit about it. I'm a little bit hesitant off it because me personally, like, I don't know if there's any data around. I've been trying to get data around it, about, if I'm a customer and I'm calling a plumber, how do I feel about being, I can't speak to someone as a person. I'm going through AI first, and then does the AI do the right thing and all that sort of stuff. And all the time I'm seeing a lot of AI startups, they obviously come and approach us all the time with what we do. So it's sort of something a little bit hesitant to look into. But where do you sort of see that fitting into this sort of thing? Because I can imagine, like, someone getting 400 leads a week and they've got the person doing the 6 minutes of admin for that. Do they want them to go through a filter stage or some sort of bot, or how does that sort of sit in what you're doing?
Well, luckily, GoHighLevel's got some amazing like AI. They are pushing AI so hard, right? So again, I'm much on the fence with you. From my research and integrating with it, so there's so many good integration tools for AI right now. So I've experimented with a lot of them. And it's just simply, it's a non-deterministic type of technology. So you can't get the same output every single time. And for a lot of businesses, that's not good. Like you want a process or an automation to run and do exactly the same thing 99.9% of the time. But where it is good, is if you have some sort of process that is non-deterministic, right? So that might be like blogs, right? So that doesn't need to be exactly the same every time. You give it some sort of prompt and an idea. So blogs for your websites, things like chatbots. If you use it in the right way, I've been finding some success with it. Like I said, HighLevel's pretty much integrated a lot of their AI inside of their chat features and stuff like that. So one of my clients has gone all in. We have been very, very careful about training their bot.
Yeah. Where's that chatbot deployed? Sorry, is that on the website? Is that like via a message chat that the customer can reach, or where's that deployed?
So within GoHighLevel, we've deployed it on every single platform. So
Right.
I won't show you that actually.
So if he's got a website, there's a chatbot there.
There's a chatbot there. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Right.
it just depends on like your preference as to how you want the person to be chatting. So for him, he wants to sort of offload all of his chat leads onto SMS. So we kind of push that. So all they do is enter their details on the website. It goes straight to SMS, and then it gathers that details, and then it already knows that the toilet's blocked or something like that. It begins talking with them. Then it'll gather extra pieces of information before it continues to talk. There's a lot of different options. You can even have like prompt triggers for what they say in the conversation to then push off a webhook. So if you had an automation like this one, for some reason, you had a webhook and the person said, "Oh, look, this is an emergency." You could have an automation like this go off to the boss and go, "This is an emergency, like pick up the phone now," or something like that, right? So it's growing at a rapid pace, and I do see currently, I don't see like every person being able to integrate this because it's expensive too, right? So, but done in the right way, and understanding how to actually use it, it can save you a lot of time and money. Yeah.
And what about tradies on their side? Like, are they using AI to help them craft emails? Are they using it for quotes? Is there anything from their side they're trying to use it for, or that you've been approached about?
In general, I think that they are dabbling in it. I mean, it's so varied between, like tradies in general. They're like, "Oh, I've tried it. I've done it for emails and stuff." Some use it quite prolifically, which is good. But I mean, the way that I can see some of this technology working, particularly for tradies, it's like in automations and stuff. I can show you one now.
Yep.
So this is quite this is quite a complex one. I don't. But essentially, you don't need to know what it's all doing. But it's just to say that it's using AI agents to scrape a PDF. And this PDF format is not in a format that the client wanted to be sent to his particular. So he uses Tradify. Tradify is quite a lockdown service. It has no API. So he said, I'm sending my invoice to this particular client. And it's a huge client. And they go, we need to make sure that we can see exactly what all of your employees were doing on each one of the days. So it's just when he sends it, it's just a big block of text.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is he is going to send this to a particular email, and then we pick it up, we scrape it, we get the AI to analyze it, and then we categorize everything with the AI, and then we push it back into a big block of HTML, and then we actually push it into a PDF again. So we're reformatting the whole thing, and it comes out as a beautiful formatted PDF for him. He doesn't even, and then the reason there's so many agents here is because it's like, there's an approval process and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I think you see if you're on YouTube, type in N8N AI, you see these AI agents and you're like, oh, these are amazing. You know, it can go use MCP, all these keywords, you know, like amazing keywords people throwing out, right? But in reality, the business cases of these are reasonably limited, but something like this is a good example of why you might want to use AI for some sort of business automation.
Yeah. So just to be clear for people, so he's setting, like, he's obviously got the documentation of what they're all doing on the site and all that sort of stuff. And he's just using this to then clean it up into a format that the company wants or that they can use.
Yeah. It's literally, if I showed you the actual PDF file, because it's literally an invoice, it kind of says, you know, like Brian, you know, did XYZ today, and that's the date. And these are from the technicians themselves. So you can imagine they're not really well crafted. So the AI goes in and it'll self-categorize. I give it 5 different categories and say, can you determine based on the string of characters what type of category is, categorize it, and then rewrite it and then put it into a table. So yeah, so then you send it off.
So how do you go about designing these systems, David? Because it's quite complex, and people look at that and just go, yeah, this is crazy. And you know, I know there's some companies that are like string.com, for example, which are trying to make building of workflows easier from a prompt, but that's a long way away from doing this sort of complexity. So how do you go about mapping out this system? Because someone comes to you and goes, here's my problem, and then you've got to go and figure it out. And there's all these things like agent, there's MCPs, all these terms, and there's webhooks and stuff. So how do you actually go about creating these large systems?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So you hit the nail on the head when you said, what's the problem? So first we work with individual problems and usually the biggest ones within the organization. Yep. Like you said, someone will come to me and this particular person came to me and said, is there a way that we can get into Tradify and then just redo the PDF? Initially, he thought potentially we could, you know, get in with an API and then change maybe some of the descriptions and stuff. And I said, well, it's not possible. So as an integrator, I need to know what is possible so that I can go and automate it, right? So that, I suppose that's like any other craft, understanding exactly what you can and can't do. But yeah, so far I haven't really found many issues being able to do something. There's often a way around doing it. It's whether the person is comfortable with the execution. So maybe they don't want it to be an email. Maybe they want it to have, like, I've had people say, I want reporting for ServiceMate, but I want it to be completely integrated within the ServiceMate ecosystem. And that is possible, but it costs a lot more money because you're integrating it directly. It's basically its own private app. So there's a lot to consider. And I have knocked back some people. I've said, look, that's either beyond your budget or it's probably not possible in the realms. A good example is actually when I was showing off, this is another one I showed on TikTok, which is
the
like
standards, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the standards. So this is kind of a template that I used and then bastardized and kind of went through and it kind of, if people are familiar with databases and how AI works, you can go and have a look at how you vectorize a database and how AI might analyze it. But people don't quite understand that LLMs is a large language model. So it works off natural language. And I had a lot of people come out to me and say, I have a set of drawings that I want to identify icons or something on. I said, well, no, they're vision models. We can't train stuff like so. Yeah, understanding the scope and understanding what you can and can't do, it can be difficult, but for the most part, I've got a pretty good understanding what can and can't be done.
So this one right here, real quickly. So this is basically so RAG. What does RAG stand for again? It's
Retrieval augmented generation.
augmented generation, and this is for electrical standards. And I can see there on the right, there's a WhatsApp message, but it was this one where
Yeah.
I did remember seeing this on the online. Is you've got a Google Drive in there, and there's the file for the standards, and
Yeah.
then from there, David, what's this one doing?
Yeah. So anytime you add a file to a Google Drive, it'll
Yep.
pick it up and then it will scrape it. It'll go through whatever type it is, and then it adds it to a database. So Superbase is quite a common database that people use. And there's quite some really cool built-in like vectorization tools. And a vector is just a string of characters, basically ones, zeros that the computer can read, and it makes like a relationship map. If I was to show you you could look it up online, like what like a graph is for knowledge graphs and stuff, and it makes relationships between certain words, and that's how the AI is able to better search and index these particular chunks of data. So it chunks it down, vectorizes it. The way I did it was kind of a special way where I use a special OCR technology, and then it puts it in the database, and then your agent itself, when you ask it a question, will go and then reference all those vector stores. They call them vector stores, and then it will spit out an answer, right? So the beauty about RAG is that you're giving it a lot more context than what a normal like OpenAI or ChatGPT will give you, right? So if you just chuck a whole standards document into ChatGPT, it's really not. It's giving it, first of all, is it able to take the whole context window into consideration? Probably not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
And then in this way, it's be able to tailor to your particular question. So it might be something along the lines of like, I don't know, PowerPoints above basins. It can go and search related keywords to that and give you a more targeted answer. So yeah.
Just give me, so because people will be familiar, upload a PDF into ChatGPT and they can start asking it questions and stuff like that. Whereas with this, as you said, it's probably got a better understanding of what you're trying to achieve, and it's only going to not going to make stuff up, I presume, from interaction with us.
You tell it to not make stuff up as best as you can, because that's what they designed to do. Designed to just give you an output.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's a pretty amazing setup on the screen which you've got there as well, and it's cool to see how much reach you get on those videos sharing this sort of stuff, because innate and automation, I think, is something where a lot of people are seeing online now, which is great, and hopefully implement their business now. From a customer service point of view, how are tradies implementing this? Because the ones that I always get approached with are voice agents and SMS qualification, email qualification, and there's a heap of these sorts of things that are going to be coming out. Like I've even seen like AI debt collection, doing calls and stuff and chasing up outstanding invoices. So how does that come into it from your perspective, and what are your thoughts around that from a service point of view?
So delivering AI in general?
Well, just like, are you doing much for like say if a plumber misses a call, does an AI agent, or does an AI system sort of go and start then texting the customer or something like that, and then going back and forth with a bot to qualify the lead or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of those. So the really early days of that was missed call text back. I remember when I've been using GoHighLevel for just 3 years now, which doesn't sound like a long time, but in high level terms, it's a long time. So before they had AI, they had missed call text back, which is awesome. So if you missed a call, text them back, which was great, gave you some sort of service. Now you can basically the AI will just respond to them. Before I would implement something like that, like I have said, I have had a couple of people come to me and say, I want this system. I would ask them first, like, what is your admin backend look like? Because typically what I'd like to see is people take over from the AI. So, because it can you can give it goals, and like we said before, it's non-deterministic. It can go off, and then it can leave a really bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah.
And people asking like, is this an AI? And if you haven't properly determined what your strategy is for your business, whether you're telling people it's AI, whether you're telling people it's your wife, whatever it is, can be a bit problematic, right? So,
What do you think people should do? Because I think the businesses I've seen using voice agents in particular, they start the call, they say, this is an AI, right? And what's the drop-off rate from there? I don't know. I haven't seen anything around that. So what do you think would be the better approach, especially when it comes to voice agents? Because we're seeing a lot of voice agent companies approaching tradies to sort of say, you've got your AI receptionist, you don't have to take a call, only deal with a qualified lead, that sort of thing.
I mean, my go-to is always to be honest, because in business, if you get exposed, and then someone wants to come after you, they'll make it their mission to destroy you. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, I would just say like it's becoming ubiquitous. I actually don't think that many people get turned off personally. If you're upfront and honest, say we're so-and-so AI agent. And in most cases, you actually see, from what I have seen when people say that, is that the ones that aren't comfortable with an AI, they'll simply just say, can I speak to a person?
Yeah.
And if you have, like I said, if you've got the back-end infrastructure there and then the right processes, then yeah, sure, someone can just pick it up. So that's where I'm currently at with it. I wouldn't try and deceive people with AI. I think that's the worst thing you could do. A really good use case, a case that came up the other day I saw on social media was a band put out their brand new album. They're a punk band. I'm into punk music. And one of their songs was AI, just one out of the whole album. They got destroyed because they didn't tell their audience that it was. And nobody knew. The only way they knew is because one of the band members leaked it. But
yeah, there you go.
So just in my opinion, be honest about it. And I bet it in the next couple of years, everybody is going to be using it anyway. So I don't see it being an issue.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? And then I think I agree with you. I think just saying it up front, this is an AI, but if you prefer to talk to a person, just say human now or whatever. And then you have your different automations and your different workflows set up to handle that. I think that would be really good and a massive time saver for a business. Now, I want to talk real quickly about franchise recruitment. So a lot of franchisors listen to this. A lot of franchisors have systems from our perspective. They might use MailChimp for the backlist and just do SMSs and have some different things set up. I think something like GoHighLevel, having it all in one place would be really, really good for them. So what are some potential things from franchise recruitment? Because basically what franchise recruitment backlist management is just sending an email, with a bit of content in it, or sending some SMSs, just checking in, sending some target information around resales and stuff that come up in the area. How could something like HighLevel be used? And also the AI stuff in HighLevel, how could that be potentially used in the recruitment process?
When you say you've got like resources that you send out to people, how do some franchisor to franchisee, is that?
So when someone inquires, it could be like here, but they might be not coming back for 3 years because there's a lot of trust that needs to be built in that meantime, right? So talking to a franchisor, talking to their friends and family, but also checking out with videos or emails to sort of keep piquing the interest, right? So when someone inquires with us, it's not just, can't get onto you and never deal with you again. We have constant reminders, whether it emails or with SMSs or even cold calls and things like that. And I think a lot of our franchisors will have different systems and they might use a company or they might do things themselves. But I think there's a lot of room for improvement with it. So something like HighLevel, just from a gut feel, like the problem I said to you was like we get a Facebook lead, they don't answer, for example, but we want to make sure they get everything in place and we put them into a system. How would that sort of look?
We'll go the obvious stuff, and then I can build on some stuff if people want some edge case stuff.
So I'm sharing the screen there just real quickly so I can get your face.
Yeah, cool, good, yeah,
cool.
Did you stop, or you want
me to stop sharing your end? Yep.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, cool.
Way we go.
All right. So just like it's basically like any other organization, from what I can see. You need to then nurture your leads once you get them. A lot of people have that issue where people won't respond. For instance, meta ads are a classic example because you get them off guard and then they go and they enter the form or whatever, and then they come into your space and then you never talk to them again. What you could potentially do for things like that is HighLevel is like I said, really good at understanding things. At the moment, internally, they have tools like if it was to mention a certain address, it will automatically populate the whole address within its system. So you don't need to that's if you got the AI stuff turned on.
Yep.
You don't need to like do that yourself. But if all you had was like your email, you could look at using an automation outside of GoHighLevel. So pick up that lead, push it to a webhook and an automation where you could potentially scrape that in something like Appify. And
Yep.
familiar with that is, yeah, it's like a bunch of like other web scraping tools essentially. And you could scrape that potential lead to get their details and then reach back out to them over another means, right? So you could push that back into GoHighLevel, populate the data, and then push them into a nurture campaign where you nurture them until you want to turn it off, essentially.
Yeah.
So at a basic level, really, what you're going to end up doing is just do a nurture campaign for them, depending on potentially what where they came from, what the attribution is. It's got so much in it. I can show you more like a really quick workflow.
You go for
if
it.
you want.
Yep, go for it. What about, and just real quickly while she's doing that, what about SMS automations? So we get approached a bit now with doing SMS to re-engage the backlist, right? So you send, like let's say you got 300 previous franchise inquiries, you would send them a message, and then if they do respond, there's an automation that's built with ChatGPT generally or something else that would then filter through the SMS leads and try and book them into qualified meetings, right? So how would you sort of look at that sort of thing as well?
Yeah. So, the beauty about GoHighLevel is it integrates directly with they call it Lead Connector, but it's actually Twilio.
Yeah.
So if people are familiar with Twilio, so you can everything. So if you were to have every single channel, you would have SMS, email, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Google, absolutely everything. And you could then start your own SMS campaign, nurture campaign, and even use AI to make sure that those leads, to tailor your messages as you go through. So if that for instance, missed X nurture or didn't come back, you would make sure that maybe you wanted to be a little bit more forceful with your, with your next message. But for those that aren't familiar with how the automations, it's actually very simple. It's if people are familiar with Zapier, which is something that I always reference because it's just so easy to work with if you're doing automations. It's it's similar to that. You have a trigger. The trigger might be a new lead came in, so a contact was created. I think everyone can understand what that is. That's the event. And we want to start our SMS campaign, send an SMS. This might be SMS 1. And we've got dynamic tags here where we can add the contact name, save, and then maybe we want a next one. We can do a wait. I'm literally building this live.
Cool. Whilst you do that, a franchisor in essence, they could new leads from whatever source. Let's say it could be from a landing page, could be from Facebook ad, whatever. And then you could have one like mega flow, I guess, where you have an SMS sort of going at the same time, plus the email going in the back end.
Exactly.
And then depending on how many they've clicked and stuff, you could even trigger more different flows and stuff with it. So
you can have things like trigger links. So it's like a deep link where you can actually see when they've clicked a link, and then you could have a trigger based on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you could do. So so I'm just putting a wait function in, wait a day because they didn't respond. And then if they respond, you could put an if block in here. So if else and all sorts of stuff. So if it's not something that you're into, like that's what we do as an organization is that we'll do these integrations and automations for you. But yeah, that's the basis of what you could potentially do for franchisors if you wanted to go chase up your franchisees and or potential leads, and maybe even if you are a franchisor already, and then you want to do chase up your franchisees. Maybe I've heard some amazing stories from your social media about some of your franchisors, like rewarding their franchisees for being with them and stuff like that. You could push out emails to them.
Well, that's a good point actually. That's because I've got some franchisors at the moment. What they're doing in ChatGPT is they're saying, John Smith started on whatever. Send me a reminder in 1 month, and in 3 months, and then 6 months about a business review. So I guess what you could do as well, like that's really, I didn't even think about that. Like you could have a new starting franchisee sort of, you might have an anniversary for the first year email. You might have a 6-month thing and a 5-month thing, and build your own automations for your own franchisee base in regards to
Yeah.
reminders and notifications and things like that. So that's a pretty cool idea, I reckon.
Yeah, like you've got full control over any custom fields inside of GoHighLevel, so you can essentially, you could just build out like their birthday or when they started, and then build off an automation based off that. So
That'd be,
yeah.
and that and that sounds like a similar, like a lot of our franchisors will check in on the birthday and send them a birthday message. If they've got 80 franchisees, it can be pretty hard to keep in track. So you could have that all built in here, which would be awesome. I was going to say,
Yes,
Scott,
exactly.
if you go back to the screen before, there's the word AI agents on the left. Now, everyone hears this AI agents term, and some people dabble around with it. So
Yeah.
do you want to just explain in a nutshell what they are and sort of just run through it a little bit?
Did you see the big screen? I don't know if it's only when you reload. Let's see if it comes up again. You want to explain what AI agents are?
Yeah, you can go for it, because I hear that term being thrown around a bit, and I think franchisors and a lot of people in franchising might say they know what it is, but I don't think a lot of people do.
I think a better platform to do this on is N8N.
Yeah.
Let me just really quickly bring out a blank workflow. You might have briefly saw it if you're watching. You might have briefly seen mine there. So an AI agent is more like a decision-making tool than anything. An AI agent, you would give some sort of context around what's going to be happening, and then give it access to tools. So a lot of people, and it's really early days still, right? So in N8N, you have access to a bunch of different tools depending on the platform that you want to integrate with. A really good one would be Google, because a lot of Google people say, oh, I want to add like a calendar event or something like that. It's in here somewhere. Can't remember. Anyway, you add the tool. You can add some memory to it. So it has context around what the last couple of chats were. And then you add the model itself, like what is the LLM that you're going to be using? So OpenAI is probably one of the most popular. So we add that, and then we can add some memory or something like that. And that's a really basic agent. And what it's going to do is it's going to make decisions for you around the tools based on what you have. So you could ask this agent to go and set me a Google invite or something like that, or send it off. But typically it's a multiples of different tools. And a lot of people like to define this in terms of their business processes. So this might be a receptionist. You might have a master agent that would call like sub agents. There is actually is a sub agent feature in here, but it's a bit more advanced. But it's really just the AI determining what you should be doing with the tools available to it.
Yeah.
And this all kind of led into MCP, and the reason that MCP ended up being created, because it knows that it has a tool actually attached to it, but the context around the tool was not built out enough. So what the tool did, what sort of calls it needs to make, how it needs to talk to the tool. So yeah, maybe a conversation for another day, but yeah, essentially they're agents that's going to go out and use different tools. At the end of the day, all they are is API calls. That's really all they are. They don't have to be, but 99.9% of them are API calls built into some sort of visual tool that you can see here. So yeah.
Yeah, because it's quite amazing how it moves, and I think it confuses a lot of people because they keep hearing AI agent, but I don't think a lot of people understand it. And I guess back in the day, it was so much easier with Zapier. You had the Zapier workflow and you just mapped it out, and that was all it's going to do. And if it errored, it will send you an error. Whereas now you got all these extra features in there as well. So where do you, like, for me, like, is it basically to sort of use this stuff and take advantage of it in their business? They should obviously they've got processes mapped out already. A lot of businesses or franchisors. It's basically just coming to someone like yourself and going, this is the process I'm doing in my business currently, or that take me this much time, or I want to save some time and this will make this better. And then you can basically go away and see if there's anything in an AN or high level that can be then done to sort of take that manual task or improve it in their business.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what happens is that people will have either a specific task in mind that they want to automate, and they know they understand that it can be done. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So they come to me and then we can have a discussion around what's the best fit for them. I do quite often get a lot of people saying, I'm just interested and I want to automate. The first thing I would say is that if there's a process that you already have for something, then that's where we can start. But I wouldn't just come in and be like, oh, I really want to do automation. Because if you have no process to begin with, I can't automate anything. Basically, I don't know the steps to automate it. Right. So yeah, make sure that and it's probably a really good wake up call and a prompt for a lot of people. I suspect a lot of franchise, like in this niche, don't really have that problem because to scale, you need to have processes. But a lot of trades don't. So first, understanding what and it can be as simple as just breaking down the steps to how you do something. And if it's repeatable, if you see that reoccurring every day, it's likely that can be automated if you're using a computer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to have a discussion with someone like yourself, because I just think there's a lot of things that tradies and franchisors and franchisees are probably doing where they can automate it, but they don't know how to because they look at probably N8N automations and see all these crazy screenshots of all these different things. So what do I start? What do I do? So how long do these things actually take you to do? Because they're quite involved. Like if there's not one thing right, it obviously doesn't work and you got to go through and find it out. So how long do those, like the ones that we were looking at before, how long do they actually take to do?
It really depends. Like a lot of them, I have templates for, but because a lot of what I do is like based on bespoke customer sort of, automations. Yeah, you're right. It can take a little time to figure out what tool I need to use, how I need to use it. If you're really not familiar with APIs, you could be getting yourself into a big bit of trouble with like what they call rate limiting and stuff like that. So yeah, making sure you're understanding the platform itself is quite a big one. But time wise, actually liken it to building a website, which is what I used to do previously. So I charge a monthly ongoing fee, which is more hosting. So it's like think about your website needs to be hosted every month. That's the same thing as this because it needs to run 24/7. And then to build it, it's just however long it takes that I quote to build it. So it could be, I don't know, could take me weeks. It could take me a day. It depends on the scale of what you're after, really. Yeah.
And I think another use case as well, which might be of interest to people, if you're doing content, I guess, like if you're a tradie doing content or a franchisor doing content, you can basically create one video, for example, upload it to, let's say, Google Drive and have it distributed to a whole bunch of different places and repurposes. I've seen some pretty big automations with that. A lot of people doing like, the AI avatar sort of videos as well. And they do the one upload and it goes everywhere. It's writing scripts and all these sorts of things and doing research. So what's the craziest sort of automation you've done for someone in terms of steps or what its problems it solved?
The craziest, the most,
let's say the most involved or the most,
the most involved actually, I definitely underquoted the invoice PDF one.
Right.
Working with AI is not as easy as what people think. Like, particularly if you're using it for a decent use case. Like, I just want to get people to have a takeaway. If anything, if you're looking at any of these automations online and you see these AI agents and things that's really cool, I honestly don't think that 80-90% of them are actually deliverable to any business whatsoever. First, I don't think they have a good use case. Like talking to an AI over WhatsApp and then getting it to add like a calendar invite. I mean, yeah, it's cool, but overall, is it going to add much value to your organization or your business? And then there's a lot of back-end stuff that people don't see is like, how do you integrate this with a client? So for the reason I use N8N is for a couple of reasons, is because it's actually an open source program. So I get to I self-host it and I can actually manipulate the software. So I've been able to manufacture or modify the code so that my clients can log on and authenticate with it. So if we have all different types of authentications, and this might be Google, Microsoft, whatever connects to it, you need to actually authenticate. This is like when you sign up for Google, you go one-time sign on for any other platform. That's what you need to do with these things. What happens when they break? Like, do they have any, like, how do you manage errors and things like that? Like, none of this stuff is really considered online. So that's what a good integrator will do. They'll consider all those things. Another reason is that it's really easy for me to use a platform like this to try and get help. I can try and code, you can actually code these nodes yourself. So we do custom nodes and stuff if there's no integration available. But yeah, it's easy for me to get help to do these integrations so we can finish them off in the back end and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into integrations. So I see a lot of people trying to sell them on Fiverr and stuff like that. And whilst they might work initially, you might find that they're going to break in a month's time or something like that.
Well, the whole new things, started AI automation agency, and there's all these massive court sellers. It used to be SMA, SMMA, social media marketing agencies. Now it seems to be AI automation, AI workflow agencies, and unfortunately people are falling for it. So I'm glad to hear from someone who does it professionally about saying that a lot of the stuff's actually not useful for businesses, and that's really good to hear. Do you want to just stop sharing your screen there real quickly, and I'll just ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. So where do you think this is all heading? Because for me, when I see the automation stuff, I know you probably would have seen string.com as well, where you type in a prompt and then the prompt will go and then create the workflow for you. Now it's real basic. So I've used it for some basic ones where I like to go, I want you to go to the top 10 news websites about AI or whatever. And every morning in Slack, you need the top stories that you think might resonate for a newsletter or whatever. And that can do it over there. But where do you see this whole sort of thing going over the next couple of years anyway?
Look, the whole AI agent building thing is still very, very fresh. It's super new. Like with the help of MCP, it's getting a lot easier for these agents to understand how people what workflows they need. My experience is that I've tried, so N has got a version of that where you can build whole workflows. There's not a lot of context around what you need for an automation. I don't care how much you give it. At this stage, it's really not enough for these AIs to really understand what you need. And it's cool as it looks online and YouTube. There's so many different considerations that need to be made when you're essentially coding, like it's a visual coder. So there's a lot of different things that go inside of it. Where I see it going is, my honest opinion is that it will definitely get better to the point where it could probably do it itself. Like there's no doubt about it in my mind.
Yeah.
But at this stage, it's not even close to being there. All right. So, I think it's well and truly on its way, but you also do need to understand what you're building. I think a lot of people will use these tools and they'll look at it and say, that's great. But if you don't understand how the code works behind it, why did it add that node? Like what is this here for? Then you're setting yourself up for failure, really. So these string tools, the agent builders like String they're good. And if they work great. But at the moment, I don't think they're quite there. Yeah.
No, they're definitely not. But but they can do basic things. But I think that's sort of where I might head, where you have a prompt or you have a task that you want to do, and it'll just get to a point where it's so good it will be able to figure it out. But I think from what you're showing, it's so complex, and I think a lot of people want to put AI and automation into their business, and they'll waste hours. I reckon a lot of hours is trying to do it. So I think getting someone like yourself just to come in, help them with it, and just to do it financially makes far more better business sense than trying to stuff around with doing those sort of workflows and stuff like that, because it can be quite intimidating. And what's so funny for me is, like, you see on LinkedIn and stuff, people put a screenshot of a massive N8N automation thing, or they do it on TikTok, and everyone's saying, get me sent to them. And I guarantee you 99% of people wouldn't actually do it or implement it into their business. So there's obviously a lot of appetite for wanting to do this sort of stuff, but I just think that there's a massive knowledge gap between wanting to put it into your business and actually being able to do it.
Yeah. I'll show it. I know I won't show you. I'll tell you one more automation. Right. It's cool. I've shown you, if you've been watching, I've shown you all these amazing, like, huge workflows and stuff, and they look so impressive. But what I want to show you is something that is being able to really, really help out and save time and money for this particular business owner.
Cool.
And I want you to I want you to take in the differences between those particular workflows. So that's it. This thing here takes in when a job is created, it goes and it grabs some details about the job. This code block has got a bunch of code in here that will take his employees, and it checks the actual time and date that it currently is and what their schedule is, and will notify them that a new job has been created. That by email. That is literally it. He is like, this is a game changer, because now everybody, including himself, gets notified when they're inside of or outside of their hours. They can get notified whenever. So he's like, this is great because everyone's now got accountability. There's no excuses for my team not to be able to respond to a job that goes into the system.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as it is. So if you've got any takeaways from automations, it's that it's breaking down these processes that can really, really help and leverage your business. You don't necessarily need all this AI stuff and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I think start small. Like, I still use API workflows all the time for a bunch of different things too. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think people want to automate, but they get put off a lot of the time from seeing those big automations. And it's great to see this one here, which is a nice, simple one. Effectively, make a big change into a business, which I think is quite possible for a lot of things that people are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was going to say as well, David, is there anything before today they haven't asked you that you want to maybe share before we finish? So the audience is, franchisors, franchisees, tradies. What would you is there anything else?
It's more it was more the takeaway around understanding your processes before you actually jump into automation. I don't want to be wasting both of our times. If people contact me and say, I'm really interested in automation, if you don't have your processes down pat, right? So often I'll just be turning people away and saying, you need to understand what it is that you want to automate. Right. So it might be a bit of a good time to turn around to your colleague and say, like, what processes do we have? Do we have them written down? That might even help you more than an automation, because then you can streamline some of your processes and business stuff. So yeah, that's if there's one takeaway from today, first get down what your processes are in your organization before you automate it.
Now, David, where can people find you? What do they need to look up? How can they contact you?
So trademagnet.com.au. Just go there and either fill out the form. I've got my contact details on there. So yeah. And I'm on social media too. TikTok, davidlist.me, I think it is. Yeah. Yeah,
you got heaps of things on there. So if you want to see these automations in action, check out David's TikTok where he goes through it. It's really cool. And there's so much interest in this stuff because obviously, you're obviously really busy with this stuff now compared to some other things. So there's a massive demand for businesses too. So if you are someone who wants to look at automation in your business and you've got your processes mapped out, David can probably build it. So please reach out to him. And thank you for your time today, David. I thought when I saw some of those videos, I thought, well, it's amazing stuff and it looks quite complicated. So I'm glad to have you on to talk about it. And, it's great to have you here. You're saying, go back to the basics first and make sure your processes are actually in place. And is this something you can do, then come back to someone before spending any money? Because there are a lot of businesses, to be honest, who will you won't have that stuff in place and take your money and do a bit of fact find and waste a lot of time. So it's good to hear that from your perspective to save your money and get that stuff in place first, documented, then you might look at automation in your business.
100%. Yep.
No worries. Well, thanks, David. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me on, mate.